Hi everybody, my name's Christopher. I'm a registered nurse by day and an aspiring woodworker. I have a goal of doing craft shows this time next year, so fall next year. In order to do that, I need to lay out my new uh, two-car garage into a functioning wood shop. So I figured I'd shoot a video about organizing and setting up a layout for a functional wood shop. It's not my first wood shop I've set up. I've had a few over the years. We did recently buy a house new to us, and it came with a detached brick two-car garage, non-insulated. So I'm going to take care of all of that along the way as well. Um, so laying out your wood shop, it really is going to depend on your workflow or your wood flow. Woodworking really is wood in and wood out, right? Wood's going to come in, roughs on into your shop. You're going to mill it. Then you're going to cut it down and make it into little pieces and then put it back together into a big piece. And that's what we do as woodworkers. So there's a few things that I think are super important when you're thinking about laying out your wood shop. The first and most important is dust collection. We are breathing in this microscopic dust, you know, zero point 0.3 microns and below. That's the stuff that can really screw up your lungs. So it's really important, especially as hobbyists, because we don't really think about it, to not only pick up the big stuff, you know, with your shop vacs, but also have a nice filter that is going to pick up those things that are 0.3 microns and below. So that's the first thing I think you really need to focus on. And from there, it's really, you know, looking at your process, looking at your workflow, and then grouping your tools together. So in my workshop, I've got them all kind of set up around where the dust collector is going to be. And I'll walk you around and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But the bigger tools, the ones that are really going to create a lot of mess, I'm going to have kind of clustered around or available to my dust collector because it's a small shop and I don't really want to run a lot of ducting throughout the shop. I don't feel like it is necessary. I can have one hose and just kind of connect it from one tool to the next. So group those tools together that are going to use that big dust collector, that 4-inch port. So your planer, your joiner, your, of course, table saw, router table, get those and kind of cluster those all together. And that's really your milling setup anyway, right? That's the big stuff. And then if you want to have a shop vac hooked up to your miter saw station, which is what I'm going to do, I'd just kind of dedicate that to the miter saw, great. And then I also have a dust collector that I'll be using at the work table at my workbench, really to run the sanders and that sort of thing off of. Of course, your respirator is going to be super important, as well as your safety glasses. No matter what kind of dust collector you've got, you still want to wear your PPE, you know, your dust masks. And then once that dust collector shuts off, keep that mask on for a while because that particles are still going to be floating around in the air. If you can open up windows and doors to help with that, get some ventilation in. Also, when you're thinking about setting up your wood shop, when you're talking about cabinets, you're really talking about drawers. You're talking about cabinets with doors on them or open shelves. Open shelves are great because they let you get to your tools quickly. You can see where everything is, but those will, you know, they'll be dusty. So I like the idea of having things behind doors and in drawers. It helps keep the dust off, helps keep the tools clean, and it gives a more streamlined look to everything. I'm a big fan of labeling, so you can label your doors, label your drawers, so you know exactly where everything is. But there are some things that I think should be out that you use all the time. So I'll be building a cabinet on the wall for my drills and drivers and bits and battery charging bank. And that'll all be open. I'll be using that stuff all the time. Same with your clamps. They'll be out in the open, right? They're going to get dirty. So when you're talking about laying out your tools, your bigger tools in your wood shop, unless you're working in an industrial shop where things aren't going to move, I recommend putting all your tools stands on wheels because inevitably your shop's going to change. You're going to get a new tool. Your flow's going to change, and so having all those tools on wheels makes it much easier to make those quick changes as you need to. Also, it's easier to keep some bigger tools like your planer or your joiner against the wall when they're not in use. It frees up more floor space, less tripping hazards, and gives you more room to maneuver. And then when you need to use them, you can just wheel them out, hook them up to your dust collector, and use them, and then they go right back away. Also, don't forget to use your vertical spaces in your shop. So your walls, your ceiling, some people mount wood racks on their ceiling. Upper cabinets are a great use of space. Also, I don't know if you can see behind me, I've got wood storage up on the wall. Works great, gets it up off the floor. So when you're thinking about laying out your shop, I like to make a plan. And it could be just a simple drawing with rough dimensions. My two-car garage, this is an 18 by 18 garage with about 10-foot ceilings. So I make a rough plan and lay out my tools. You can clip different colors of paper of the different tools that you need to lay out. You can draw them in. Again, if you're talking rough dimensions here, you don't need to get down to 32 inches. You can do 36 inches, make things easier. I like to use graph paper, draw everything out. It helps me see visually what's going to fit, what's not going to fit, what's going to work well, and what's not going to work well. So I'll go over the drawing that I have and do a walk around and show you what I'm working with here and kind of lay out the plan for building the shop out. Another thing I wanted to talk about is lighting. Lighting is super important in your workshop, not only for safety, but also being able to get your colors correct on finishes, being able to see your marks on wood, whether you're using a pencil or you're using a scribe knife. Lighting is super important. So the brighter, in my opinion, the better. You can have bright white lights, the LEDs, or you can have warmer tones. That's kind of up to you, but I think the more light, the better. I've got some LED lighting that I have screwed to the rafters for my ceiling, and I also have some down lights that just screw into existing light bulbs that in the garage here that help provide a lot of downlight and help light the space. Okay, so here you can see the drawing that I've done for my garage. It's 18 feet by 18 feet square. I have two garage doors in the front here, and I've got an area blocked off here with a table, some storage that's not going to be woodworking tools, and a refrigerator, because after all, who doesn't have a refrigerator in their garage, right? I have a wood rack hanging on the wall over here, and then along this wall I've got the bandsaw. I've got an 8-inch Gwen joiner, and then a DeWalt planer. They're all going to be on rolling cabinets, and they'll be able to push up against underneath that wood rack when not in use. Over here in the corner, I'm getting a Laguna Seaflux dust collector. So that'll be able to hook up to the joiner, the planer, and the bandsaw as I use them. In the middle of the room here, I've got my rigid table saw, and then I'll be building a router table extension for the table saw. And then of course behind that, I've got my Husky tool chest that I'll be using as an outfeed table, and then some cabinets with drawers behind that. So that'll kind of be the main area of the shop. Along this back wall next to the dust collector, I have a Hercules miter saw, and then I've got a rolling cart that'll be a miter saw support, and also that mobile work table. Down here along this wall, this is a man door to walk in, and then I'll have my workbench, and that's going to be 8 foot by 30 inches. This is where I'll be building the drill driver storage. And there's a window right next to it, so I like the fresh light coming in through there. Garbage can in the corner, and then a sit-stand desk over here to do some work as well. So this really works. This layout seems to work, is going to work really well for me. Wood can come in through this door here. This is all your milling operations over here. So you've got your dust collector, so you can hook that up to all of those tools, and then you'll come over to your table saw, cut things down to size, and then you can work them with the router table as well. You can use this table as a workstation as well, or the workbench over here. I'll have a dust collector underneath the workbench, and I'll be able to run my sander and everything while I'm doing that. And again, I like the natural light coming in through the windows. That helps with color matching. So this is what I was talking about. It's kind of a rough sketch. None of the dimensions are 100% accurate. They're all off by a few inches here. But as you can see, I've got a nice area to walk around, good movement. I've got wood storage, and kind of like your dirty side over here and the more of a cleaner side over here. And it's just a simple drawing. I think it took me 20 minutes to throw it all together, and that was with having to measure everything. All right, let me kind of just walk you around the garage space, and you can visually see where everything is going to be. So the little garbage can is going to be in the corner here, and then this will be the workbench area. There's that window I was talking about. I do have clamps hanging on it, on the bars right now. That's a great place to store clamps because that's right where I'll be using them. And then over there's your door, and then of course the refrigerator and that table that has got charcoal and rags, that sort of thing on it. And then in the middle, this you'll see here, this is going to be a little dirty at the moment, but you get the table saw here. This is the extension that's going to be the router table. There's the tool chest, and then there'll be another set of cabinets right here with some drawers, and that'll help keep things close by to the workbench. This area of the garage is this is the garage door that the wood will be coming through. There's the bandsaw. I've got an old bandsaw from an old gentleman years ago that I want to redo and get set up, paint. There's our last house had a lot of humidity in the garage. I was unable to use the tools, so there's a lot of rust on the top of the bandsaw table and also the table saw. So I'll probably be shooting a video and going over how to remove rust from these cast iron elements and see what works the best for us. Here's the wood rack I was talking about up on the wall using that vertical storage like I was talking about. There's a new 8-inch Wen joiner on the floor, so that's the area that'll go. And then over to the left there, it will be another cart here for the planer, and then this is the corner where the dust collector will go. Off that corner will be like a miter saw station, or a miter saw, and then the movable cabinet that we saw on the drawing that I made, the mobile workbench. And then back around, this is where I've got a sit-stand desk is going to go that allow me to do some drawings, some sketches, that sort of thing. Do a nice little bookshelf action going here on the wall. And I've got a sticker board that getting started here. And then I do have some available wall space over here behind the miter saw that I'm not sure if I'm going to do a French cleat system behind there or what I'll be doing. You know, miter saw stations, they get awful messy. So we're going to have to see what's kind of going to work for that. And that's kind of the space as it sits now. I have this cabinet over here that came with the garage. That's going to be going away. That's where that dust collector is going to be, right in here. So you can see it's got a good flow to the area. With the table saw and the router table being in the middle of the space, kind of the hub of the whole area, the outflow table, and then the workbench over against this wall here. All right. I do want to talk real quick about some upcoming videos that I've got. As I said, I'm going to go through and talk about the getting rust and redoing this bandsaw and also the table saw. We've got all these cabinets to build here. I'll be using those Rockler pieces to build cabinets, the stands, and then I'll be fitting them out with drawers and shelves. Also, we've got, on top of all the cabinets to build, we'll be doing some tool reviews. I've got this new Wen joiner that I want to set up. We'll do a setup video and a review of that. Also, we'll be building the workbench out. I've got a great video by Hooked on Wood for his work table, which just looks amazing. A lot of good hold downs. Opportunities without having to use a vise. I really like that option. It gives you a lot of flexibility. So lots of tool reviews, lots of tool cabinet build outs, that sort of thing coming your way. So if you got any value out of this video at all, do me a favor, give me a like, hit that like button, and subscribe. You can follow the videos as they come out. I appreciate it. Have a great day. Bye.